Yes, we shared screens, and we're recording now. So if anybody has a problem with that, um, you can leave. I don't know what to tell you. Uh, but we did last week. We were doing stuff on enchantments and sorcerers and sorcery and divination, and we slipped into a little bit of wisdom and understanding, and we did a lot of verses on that. Um, Let me see where I was with the notes. But we also dipped a little bit into that gematria stuff, and there was something I come across in regards to the gematria. I'm not going to get into it tonight, all this stuff, because you could spend the rest of your life going through numbers and adding up numbers and matching up verses and things like that. And we know God's word. It's inspired. It's the written word, and these guys, 30, some say 33, some say 40 people who wrote these books of the Bible and these epistles and letters and things over a span of 1,500 years, from many different countries and different backgrounds and things like that. And they're all doing the same thing. They're all talking about the same thing. And we know that through our studies with Jim and gematria and things like that there is something more to it, than just the written word. There's numbers involved and mathematics. I mean, mathematics is universal. I mean, when I say universal, I mean universal. I don't know what's out there,
Hmm.
but 1 plus 1 equals 2. You can't deny that. That's that's universal, and no matter who comes, who goes, whatever happens, and we know that there are certain numbers in the Bible that have certain significance. The 40, the 40 years, 4 days in Lazarus in the tomb, 40 40 days in the ark, plus the 370. With the 40 days of the earth opening and the rain coming and all that stuff. And 40 is a big number. 44, 400, and sevens. We know sevens are all over the Bible, and they have the special meaning too. And you can get books on these guys that talk about the numbers, and we know numbers are significant in the Bible. So just to say that without getting into stuff, because there's being books being written and had about what this number means, what that number means, and I've read a lot of these guys, several of the books, and these are very skilled mathematicians and logical guys and physicists and things like that. But as far as the Bible is concerned, they don't know and they probably don't care. They're just trying to add things up. Um, and a lot of them, they do like what they call like a truncated thing. Instead of having the exact number, like what is 1729? Is that
Hmm.
something times something times something? And they don't use the decimal points and things like that. But they round it up or round it down to a number, and that's not gematria. That's not what real gematria is. It has to be exact. And Jim
Right.
told me that. It has to be exact. You can't be going like it's 15 times 7.2223. It's not like it's going to be 15 times 7, or it's going to be, it's not going to be truncated
Pause.
or like that. So,
Right.
but we know that, and we know that the message in the Bible is the same. Uh, and for us, it's God did this. He created the heaven and the earth, and He did it for His purposes. And we know Genesis 1 is all about us. The first chapter of Genesis is all about us, and the creation. It was perfect when it was made.
Hmm.
Sin came in. We had to have the circumcision. Then the light came, and on and on. And we know that Genesis 1 is all about us and our innocence and our fall from grace. and and our repentance and our forgiveness, and that's all we have to understand, And it's all about uh, getting Jesus back into the picture, and knowing that he's the Savior, and we need a Savior, and he's it, And hopefully we're going to wind up with that. But there's things that you read in the Bible that are hard to understand, like dark sentences, hard sayings, and things like that, and even some biblical verses talk about people not understanding or things being sealed up until the end of time and things like that. And we gotta question that and find out what's going on. Like a couple of verses here. Hold on a second. I didn't want to spend too much time on this, but this is where I'm going. Let me see, Isaiah 29, and we'll get into the some other stuff about the wisdom and the understanding, and there's a few other things that I wanted to talk about. Carnal, physical things, standing for or being a type of the future, spiritualistic things. And we know there's everything in the Bible can be a type or a symbol for something else. Anything physical, like a mountain. We know there's a capital city. We know about the ark and the temple. We know that all that stands for something else. Besides the physical ordinances and rituals and things like that, it all stands for something spiritual, and I want to get into that too. So, but I just want to get this out of the way as far as these mysteries in the Bible and the numbers and all that stuff. And you got, I think, 29:11. There's some verses that popped out for me when it comes to like trying to understand the Bible and think reading in the Bible. Um, Isaiah 29:11, and the visions of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. And and the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. So what is this talking about? It's talking about something that you have to understand. You have to study the book in order to learn it, in order to understand it. And there's a bunch of other verses here. Well, in Genesis 49, when Jacob bore the sons, he was prophesying. He was talking about future events, and he says 49:1, and Jacob bore the sons and said, gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. So he's going on to reveal some things to them, and then also Numbers. I'm going to go through these real quick here, just to uh, get some kind of gist of what's going on here. Numbers 24 and 14. Now somebody has their mic on and they're clicking around and making noises and things like that, and it interferes with the recording. So if you can mute your mic, if you're not asking questions or talking or something like that, that would be appreciated. And then we could all enjoy the recording when it comes out, because the side noises really distort. I noticed that even though it doesn't sound like much now, when the recording comes out, it's really distorted. It really distorts the recording. So if you can do that, please, I appreciate it. So Numbers 24 and 14 says, and now behold, I go unto my people, come therefore, and I will advertise to thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days. So this is Balaam talking to Beor, what's his name, Balak. Balaam is talking to Balak, and he's telling him things that Israel's going to do in the future. And what's going to happen to him in the future. So he has some kind of he's a seer or something there. And Deuteronomy 4 and 30. Okay. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come unto thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shalt be obedient unto his voice, for the Lord thy God is a merciful God, he will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget thy covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. So he's talking about things in the latter days. And this is a future prophecy of something that's in the future. And Isaiah 2:2. Isaiah, where am I? Isaiah 2:2. I don't want to pounce these too hard either, because that distorts too. Try to click this without making noise. And it shall come to pass to the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established at the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow unto it. And this is talking about the last days. And Micah 4:1. Micah 4:1. Right. And I got a little thing from that too. But in the last days, it shall come to pass that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established in the top of the mountain. So here's Micah, and he's quoting Isaiah. And it shall be exalted above the hills, and the people shall flow into it. And many nations shall come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, and to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For the law shall go forth of Zion, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And that's future prophecy. Okay. I got this other book that's called Encyclopedia of Biblical Prophecy. Somebody was talking about that. He asked me a question about that today. I forget who it was. And I noticed that I got that book up there. Excellent book talking about prophecies and which ones are done already and which ones are to come. Most of them are to come. So all the stuff has been fulfilled, but most of the prophecies I get be fulfilled. Isaiah 41:22 is let them bring them forth and show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things, what they be, that we may consider them and know the latter end of them, and declare us things for to come. And that's what some of these guys do. I say idiots, but you got these guys that write these Bible codes and some of these gematria books, and all they're trying to do is figure out what's going to happen. They're trying to predict the future. And that's not what this is all about, and that's not what it's supposed to be about. And a lot of them got egg on their face because of that, but they don't care. But that's not what this is for. Not for us to look into the crystal ball. There's things that are written that are going to happen, and it's already happened as far as God is concerned, and there's nothing we can do about it. And looking into it and trying to figure out what it is, it's only going to get you more confused. 41:22, 46:10. Isaiah 46:10. 46:10. Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times of things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So there you go. It's not for us to try and figure it out. Jeremiah 23:20. Jeremiah 23:20. This is the false prophet chapter. Well, a lot of them are false prophet chapters, but 23:20. The anger of the Lord shall not return until he have executed, until he have performed the thoughts of his heart. In the latter days you shall consider it perfectly. So there's for people in the future, and for us to be looking back and saying, "Oh yeah, he talked about that," and we're considering it perfectly, because in a lot of days it'll come to an understanding and say, "Oh, that's why that." Jeremiah 30:24. 30:24. The fierce anger of the Lord shall not return until he have done it, until he have performed the intent of his heart. In the latter days ye shall consider it. Ezekiel 38. There's a few more of these. I'm not going to go crazy with this. That's why I'm just reading them out of context. Ezekiel 38, 8 and 16. 8 and 16. Close. So I can see that 16 here. One more. Okay. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter days thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste, but is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. And then 16, and thou shalt come up against my people of Israel as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me, when I shall be sanctified in thee, O Gog, before their eyes. And this is a future thing, yet even in our future, this Ezekiel 7:38, because Gog and Magog are going to come together. Everybody. You look at Israel's history, even from 1948, when they first became a nation. Uh, the day after that, they were at war with everybody there, and just about everybody attacked them at one time or another. Some of them attacked them together. Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Egypt, all of them. But then we're talking here about everybody. We're talking about Gog and Magog. We're talking about Gomer. We're talking about the people up further north, the Caspian Sea, Moscow, Meshach, Moscow, and all of those places are going to come all at once against this, uh, physically against Israel, and spiritually against the church. That's why there's a physical and there's a spiritual. Everything that I'm studying now, I'm looking at the physical, and I can see a spiritual application to it. Just about everything I look at, it's physical. Even the people, Joseph is a perfect picture of Christ. Isaac is a picture of Christ. Abraham is a picture of God. So they're all stand for something. They're all symbols of something. They're all types of something. And a type is just something in the past that looks ahead to the future, and the antitype is something in the future that looks back to the past. When you see those two words, see the 38th. Daniel 8. Daniel 8. Daniel 8. 19. 19. And I will make thee show what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed, the end shall be. And you're talking Daniel 8. You're talking about all this future stuff. A lot of this stuff in Daniel happened already in our past, especially Daniel 11, when it talks about the king of the north and the king of the south. The king of the Ptolemy king, and the other king, Solution. So Solution and Ptolemy. King of the north is the Solution Syrian, and then king of the south is the Ptolemy Egypt. So when you see Daniel 11, you know what they're basically talking about with that. And that a lot of that stuff has already come to pass. And then 8:23, and in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors will come to the full, the king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences, shall stand up. And this is talking about the Maccabean stuff, when Antiochus Epiphanes came in, and he did the abomination of desolation. So that's another thing that was physically back there in 164 BC, and it's going to be happening in our future. So the abomination of desolation. It was a physical one back then, and there's going to be another one. And then Daniel 10. So I'm doing like two studies here. I'm doing the carnal, physical uh, symbols of future spiritual events, and I'm also doing this talking about things that are supposedly hidden in the book from us that we don't understand until something happens. So that's what some of these guys are trying to do. They're trying to figure things out. It's not supposed to be like that. It's going to happen in God's time. God's time. Daniel 10:14. Now I come to make thee understand what shall befall thy people in the latter days. For yet the vision is for many days. So he's talking to Daniel, and he's telling him of future events. And Daniel's just like getting on his face saying, I don't understand this. This just to write, I'll write it. Even though I don't understand it, but it's an inspired word. Daniel 12:4 says, but thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. I mean, that's a great verse right there. Many shall run to and fro. What's that talking about? You see that phrase all over the Bible, but that's what we're doing right now. We're running to and fro. I can hop on a plane and go anywhere. And knowledge shall be increased. How many books are being written trying to figure out this Bible? And knowledge shall be increased, and it is being increased. You got these gematria books and Bible code books, and whether it's true or not, the knowledge is being increased. And we know that there's a verse that talks about ever searching for knowledge, but never coming to the knowledge of the truth. And that's what some of these guys are doing. They're trying to figure out prophetic events that are supposed to happen, and they can't. They got it wrong. This one guy, Drosnin, I think his name was, he predicted some assassination or something else, and it turns out that he was wrong. But he had the Bible code, and he had all the phrases lined up with the equidistance, letter spacing, and all of that stuff, and everything was right. All the names matched up, but he was wrong because he was wrong. But then when you look also in that little, what do they call it, the cylinder that he had, his name was there, and it says Drosnin, that was his name, Drosnin thinks, or Drosnin thought that this would happen. So, he not only got it wrong, but later on, when you look at it, it says the prediction was that he would get it wrong. it was amazing. But these guys, they're trying to do that, and you can't do that because you're just like he did. You'll make a fool of yourself. So Daniel 12, Daniel 12, 8, 9. What does he got? 8, 9. He says, and I heard, but I understood not. And then said I, oh my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed to the end of time, to the time of the end. So that's all we have to worry about. The words are there. It's true. We may not understand them, and we sure don't understand a lot, but it's going to happen. Daniel 2, 29 and 45. There's a lot of stuff in Daniel about sealing up things. We got 29 and 45. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts come into thy mind upon thy bed, what shall come to pass hereafter, and he that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. So, Daniel's revealing this to him, and they're trying to make Daniel into some kind of a soothsayer or a prophet or something like that. But Daniel's saying, I ain't doing it. God's giving it to me. He's letting me know what shall come to pass. I'm not doing it. And that we got to remember that. And then he talks about the 4 beasts, the beast with the iron head, and we know all about that. And down to 45, he says, for as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. I didn't think this up. God showed me this, what was going to happen, what your dream meant, the interpretation of your dream. And we know that stone cut out of the mountain without hands. That's Jesus, And Daniel 7, Daniel 7, 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and shall subdue 3 kings. I don't know why I threw that in there, but you can put a dozen verses in here talking about future events. But we know what the 10 horns are. That's Israel. That's the 10 tribes that give up their power for a time, and then they eventually will destroy the beast. They give their power to the beast, and then they eventually turn on the beast and destroy the beast. And God allows them to do that because they weren't doing the right thing. And then we got Revelation 22, the last one here. So we'll start with this, Revelation 22. you go. And he saith unto me, seal not the sayings of this prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. So that's it. All this stuff is sealed up, and but now he's saying, seal not, because the time is at hand. Everybody's running to and fro. Knowledge is increased, and we got the last 2,000 years here. So that's that on a little thing I got for that. But these types of things, like the carnal, physical, and the spiritual. The carnal is fleshly, and the Old Testament. We know the Old Testament was literal, with ordinances and rituals, and they represented something spiritual. They were the types, and everything that's physical, earthly, has it's symbolic of something that's spiritual, and we see that with the temple itself. We know about the temple. We heard Jim say it half a dozen times, half a million times. What the temple represents. The ark and the veil and the table of showbread and the candlesticks, the altar of incense, and we know what all of these things mean, and the brazen altar and the brazen sea. The brazen altar is the cross. The brazen sea is the baptism, which is spiritual now. The ark that's sprinkled, that's our heart. It was physically sprinkled, but now our hearts are sprinkled with the fleshly, and also the stones. The law was written on stones, literal stones. Just now it's written on hearts, the physical heart, spiritually. So, with the types in the Old Testament, things that are pointed to something that's future, heavenly. It could be a person, a place, or a thing, and it represented as something else. Like I said, Joseph is a perfect picture of Christ. David is the king. He's another picture of Christ. And there could be places, like mountains as capital cities. Second Corinthians, when we talk about the stone, 2 Corinthians 3:3, just to get a juxtaposition. For as much as you, 2 Corinthians 3:3, for as much as you are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Christ, ministered by us, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. So you got the physical ink, you got the Spirit, you got the physical tables of stone, and you got the fleshly tables of the heart. So everything physical is symbolic of something that's spiritual. I'm finding that out. So there's a physical Israel, and there's also a spiritual Israel. We are spiritual Israel, but there is that physical Israel there also. A physical city, Jerusalem, and a spiritual city, Jerusalem. That's new or heavenly Jerusalem. Let me see if I got these here somewhere. Hold on. Stuff here. Here we go. New Jerusalem. Revelation 3:12. He that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. I will write upon him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from God, and I will write upon him my new name. So that's the New Jerusalem. And then 21:2. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for. And you got the marriage here, so physical marriages represent the spiritual marriage. Physical city is represented by the spiritual, the New Jerusalem. And then we got 3:12 and then 21:2 and 21:10. Where's 21:10? Hold on a second. Let me get this. 21:10. 21:10. 7, 8, 9, 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto the stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. I got something on colors here too. I can't get into that now. But there's so many different representations of Christ and God as colors in the Bible. I want to get into that one of these days too. I mean, we studied colors before, but there's so many different aspects to colors that we gotta get into. And then Galatians, where is it? What's this? Living God, true God. Okay, I got verses with living God and true God. Okay, why I threw that up there? But this, okay, Hebrews 12. You get this in context because there's a bunch of verses here. Hebrews 12. I think I'm starting with 18. Let me see, 18. For you are not come unto the mount that might be touched. Okay, that's the physical that might be burnt with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness and tempest, and the sound of the trumpet. So these are all physical things, and the voice of the words, which voice that they heard entreated that the word should not be spoken to them anymore, and that put them into fear. For they could not endure that what was commanded, and if so much as a beast touch the mountain, it shall be stoned or thrust through with a dart. And so terrible was the sight that Moses said, I exceedingly fear and quake. So that's all the physical stuff that's represented by this. But you are come unto Mount Zion and unto the city of the living God. Oh, that's why I put that living God in here. Okay. The heavenly Jerusalem, and to an innumerable company of angels, to the general assembly of the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven, and to God, the judge of all, and to the spirits of just men made perfect, and to Jesus, the mediator of the new covenant, and to the sprinkling, the blood of sprinkling, that speaketh better things than that of Abel. So here you got the juxtaposition there between the physical aspects and which are the types of the coming spiritual. So the sprinkling of blood in Jesus, and so it speaks of spiritual and heavenly Jerusalem. What's this? I got reverence, Hebrews 12. I was looking at reverence and godly fear. Also, we talked about that a little bit last week. Reverence and godly fear. Oh, it's further down. Let me read down to it here. Let me see. See that we refuse not him that speaketh, for they escaped not who refused him that spake on earth. Much more shall we not escape if we turn away from him that speaketh from heaven. So there you got the juxtaposition too, between the earthly and the heavenly, whose voice then shook the earth, but now he hath promised, saying, yet once more I shake not the earth only, but also heaven. So heaven and earth will be shaken. And this word, yet once more, signifieth the removing of those things that are shaken. That's the earth, and of things that are made, that those things which cannot be shaken may remain. And what's that? That's the spiritual stuff. Wherefore, we, receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved, spiritual, let us have grace, whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. And that's it. For our God is a consuming fire. And this reverence here is aidos. Shamefacedness, reverence, sense of shame or honor, mind, bashfulness, reverence, regard for others, respect, comes from and ido. It's like Hades, not seen. Idos. And then godly fear, uh, eulabia, comes from you, which is well. Come on, brother. There you go. Which is well. And lambano, which is received, well received, godly fear, devout, circumspection, reverence, and godly fear. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. We know that. Reverence and godly fear. Galatians. Did we do Galatians already? Galatians 4, 26. 126. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free. Okay. which is the mother of us all. So that's talking about spiritual Jerusalem as opposed to the physical one here. Talking about the bondwoman. Okay, tell me, ye that desire to be under the law, do you not hear the law? For it is written that Abraham had two sons, the one by the bondmaid, the other by the free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was of the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise, which things are an allegory. For these are the two covenants, the one from Mount Sinai, which gendereth the bondage, which is Agar. For this Agar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is, and is in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, spiritual Jerusalem, new heavenly Jerusalem, which is the mother of the soul. So that's talking about. So we got the carnal, physical, and the spiritual. So let me see. The physical altar and sacrifice was a type of a future one, and that's Hebrews 13. Let's see what verses I got here. I got 9, FF, whatever, down here. Be not carried, Hebrews 13:9. Be not carried away about with diverse and strange doctrines, for it is a good thing that the heart be established with grace, which have not profited them that have been occupied therein. We have an altar whereof they have no right to eat, which serve the tabernacle. For the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp. That's outside the camp. Wherefore Jesus also, that he might sanctify the people with his own blood, suffered without the gate. So he was out on the Golgotha there. So let us go therefore unto him without the camp, bearing the reproach. For we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. So that's the spiritual. By him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to God continually. And we're not going into the temple and going through the veil and sprinkling the blood or killing the sacrifice. This is the offering the sacrifice of praise to God continually. That is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. But to do good and to communicate, forget not. For with such sacrifices God is well pleased. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they might give an account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, that for that is unprofitable for you. So you got a juxtaposition there with the physical sacrifices, the physical bloody sacrifice, and then you got the spiritual one here, and that's what to look for. See, and then Revelation 14. Revelation 14, 1. All right. And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written in their foreheads. And that's spiritual. That's the church. And there's Jesus, and there's heavenly Jerusalem, Mount Zion. You know, city we look for, the mountain, the houses we look for, heavenly. When he talks about there are many mansions. What's he talking about? John 14, and 2. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. Where's he going? And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. So it's not a physical mansion; it's a spiritual. First Kings, everything has a spiritual reference to it. First Kings 8, 27, 27. But will God indeed dwell on the earth? Behold, the heaven and the heavens cannot contain thee. How much less this house that I have built it? So here you go. You got the physical house, and of course the spiritual house, which is he's everywhere. He doesn't need a place, even though he asked for it. Did I ask you for a house of cedar? No, but you built me one anyway. I don't need it. But, well, you got it. I want you to perform these ordinances and sacrifices, and you can't do it right because it's physical. We need it spiritual. Psalms 11:4. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes behold, his eyelids try the children of men. That's spiritual. And then got a couple of things here. What's this? Habakkuk 2:20 juxtaposed with First Chronicles 7:5. Go back up first here. Back at 2:20. The First Chronicles 17:5. 17:5. Come on. I don't have to make noise there. That's what I'm doing. Let me see what we got here. But the Habakkuk 2:20. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. First Chronicles 17:5. For I have not dwelt in any house since the day that I brought Israel unto this day, but have gone from tent to tent, from one tabernacle to another. So he's talking about Did I tell you? Why have you not built me a house of cedars? Now therefore, thus shalt thou say unto my servant David, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, even from following sheep, that thou shouldest be ruler of my people. And I'm going to have your son build me a house, but I don't need it because the Lord is in his holy temple. It's not a physical one built of cedars. Psalms 103. That was a sight to behold, I'll tell you that. Psalms 103, 19. 19. The Lord hath prepared his throne in the heavens, and his kingdom ruleth over all. Oh, it's in the heavens. It's not physical anymore. Isaiah 66. 66 what? 1. 66 1. Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me, and where is the place of my rest? There's no place. Matthew 5. Oh, somebody got here. Matthew 5. Oops. 5, 34 and 35. 34 and 35. But I say unto you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. And then Revelation 4, a couple of these left over here. Just wanted to get a little juxtaposition between the physical, fleshly, carnal, and the spiritual. And that's what we're all attaining to. We're trying to attain to that. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, the throne was set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And this is what he's looking at. He's not looking at, he's seeing visions, but he's seeing visions of spiritual things. And Philippians 3, 17 to 21. See what God, yeah. Brethren, be ye followers together of me, and mark them which walk, so you have us for an example. For many walk, of whom I have told you often, and now tell you even weeping, that they are enemies of the cross of Christ, whose end is destruction, whose God is their belly, and whose glory is in their shame, who mind earthly things. For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ, who shall change our vile physical bodies, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious spiritual body, according to the workings whereby he is even able to subdue all things unto himself. And that's what we're looking for. The day when we don't have to worry about this anymore. We're going to be like him. So that's New Jerusalem. That's heavenly Jerusalem. Did I do this? I did that already. So yeah, that's what I got on that. 757. And then this, we're getting into this wisdom and understanding. And let me get this out of here. All this stuff on the Hyatt. I didn't make the reservations yet, but I'm gonna. Look, I had all these verses here. Look at this. All right, all right, all right, all right. Close this. Close this. What do we got here? All right, this is the wise. And what else we got here? We got wise and the Gideone. Let's back it up to the wizards here. We got these wizards. Uh, People who think they're wise men. The word is Gideone. Look up here. Gideone. And we know where it comes from. Yada. I think we touched on this last one. Yada. I know. To know. Yada, yada, yada. I think that's where we get that from, right? Yada, yada, yada. A wizard or a knower, one who has a familiar spirit, a soothsayer, a necromancer, and those are the people that supposedly talk to the dead. So a wizard, and some modern translations, fortune teller, a familiar spirit, a spirit magician, a sorcerer. Since the root of Gideone is the verb yada, to know, implied in the title, therefore, is esoteric knowledge not available to the ordinary person. So, you're talking about magicians. We see these guys doing these magic tricks, and it's knowledge that's not available to the ordinary person. They keep this stuff secret because it's trickery, and we would find them out and know that they were phonies if we do what they were doing. So these are the false wise men. Yidiane can also always occurs parallel to Ob, and that's the familiar spirit. Ob, that would be over here. Wizards and familiar spirits is Ob here. Familiar spirit, water skin bottle. That's where you got the guys who are peeping and muttering. Isaiah talks about them. They're ventriloquists. They're throwing their voices and things like that. So that's what that is talking about. And it may be a masculine counterpart. Similarly, witch and wizard are feminine. The masculine appear in English, as the Hebrew word Yidione is related to knowledge, yada, yada, yada. So the English word wizard is related to wisdom. So, and God forbade his people to consult with the Yidione. And you got Leviticus 19, 31. He says, regard not them that have familiar spirits, the Ob, neither seek after wizards, Yidione, to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. And he's telling them this because they were going after that stuff. And why were they going after that stuff? Because they thought it was true. And whether it was true or not, and these people most likely can't do what they claim to be doing because it's all trickery and tricksters and things like that. But he says, even if they could do what you're seeking after, don't go to them. It's real simple, So if you run across it like this, what's this guy's name? Jonathan something or other. He has like 50 people sitting in the audience, and he's saying, "Hey, somebody over here has got this, that, and the other thing." And somebody says, "Oh yeah," and then right away he runs to that person, and he starts. You have to know a little bit about people's personalities and things like that, and some knowledge of psychology and how to trick people, and that's what they're doing. They're all tricking. But like I said, even if they could necromancy, even if they could chat with the dead, we're not. But I don't think they can anyway. So God forbade that. and also in Leviticus 20:6. And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits and after wizards to go off whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul and will cut him off from among his people. A man also or a woman that hath a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. So we're not to do that. And of course, 1 Samuel 28 talks about Samuel outlawing this practice of necromancy and wizards and witches and things like that. But he went and visited this witch of Endor anyway. And like I said, she was as shocked as Saul when Samuel was brought up. So she didn't bring him up. God brought him up. How the Israelite king dealt with the spirits was a significant factor in characterizing the king as good or evil. And some of these people, you got to watch what they're writing. And Second Kings, Second Kings 21:6. He says, and he made his sons, and this is probably Manasseh, and he made his sons to pass through the fire and observed times, used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. I mean, he did everything wrong. And he wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. And he killed him after that. And 21:6, 23:24. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits and the wizards and the images and the idols and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book of Hilkiah, which the priest found in the house of the Lord. So the word of the Lord goes from generation to generation. There'll be one generation that won't even know the word of the Lord, no knowledge of it whatsoever. And then all of a sudden, Josiah and friend Hilkiah finds this book written in the house of the Lord, and he's reading it to Josiah, and Josiah's like, "Oh my, what are we doing here? We're going after all of these familiar spirits and wizards, and we're supposed to be going after the living God here, and we didn't know about it. And now we know. So what did Josiah do? He had like probably the greatest revival that the world has ever seen, and he killed a lot of people." Second Chronicles 36, 33 and 6. And he caused his children the same thing. And he caused his children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. He also observed times. He used enchantments and witchcraft, dealt with familiar spirits and wizards, and wrought much evil. So, and we don't have to look at all these words. We looked at them last week. So, observed times. Anan is observer of times, or a soothsayer, a sorceress, an enchanter. Enchantments is nakash, to enchant, to divine, to practice divination, which is evil. They use witchcraft. It's kashaf is witchcraft. It's sorcerers, witchcraft, to practice witchcraft. And I think we went through all of this last week. Dealt familiar spirits. That's the old. That's the bottle. Of course, the wizards we're doing now. So, and then Isaiah spoke of them with utter scorn. And Isaiah in 8:19, he says, and when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead? So you got to go. We want to go after the living God, and not these people that peep and mutter, ventriloquists, safaf, peep, chatter, whisperers, and mutter. What's mutter? Hold on a second. Mutter, haga, or daga. Is it haga or daga? To meditate, to moan, to mutter. So that's what they're doing. They're ventriloquists. That's basically what they are. 18. It says haga here, but it says daga here. It's probably haga. 1897. 1897. 1897. It's haga, yeah. Okay. But they got dog on here. I got dog on. Primitive root to murmur, pleasure, anger, ramifications, ponder, imagine, meditate, on. So that's what all they're doing. They're just peeping and muttering, ventriloquists, trickery, and then 19, Isaiah 19 and 3, he says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. What's this? Idols. El Yeel, idol, image, no value, something of naught, good for nothing, worthless. El Yeel, all right? Al comes from al, which is never, nay, no, never, neither, neither, none, near, nil. So that's that. That's the familiar spirits. And then we're going to get into the wise man here. There's two, I think, stuff I wanted to get into in the theological dictionary here, but that's a read and a half, man. Let me just stick with this here. The word is sakal. I know we looked at it last week. It's to understand or to be wise, prudent, circumspect. And the other one here we're going to look at is wisdom. So you got wisdom and understanding. So that basically kokma is the wisdom. So we got wisdom and understanding, and of course Job 28:28 it talks about wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. So like I said, anytime you see wisdom, you put fear of the Lord, and anytime you see departing from evil, you put understanding, or understanding, you put depart from evil. So that's what we're to do, you know. So this verb, kokam or hakma, it's used 26 times. It means to be wise. Let me see. And we went through all the synonyms here. We got bin or binya. The bin is used more widely to mean consider or to discern or to perceive, but the nouns are close synonyms to chokmah and are used especially in Proverbs and Job. And in the well-known verse in Proverbs 4:7, he says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. So we look at the words here. Wisdom is kokmah. So that's the principal thing. That's the reshith. That's the first word in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Bereshith, in the beginning. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all getting, get understanding. And that's the bin. Binya is understanding. Comes from bin, which is the verb. Bin, which is understanding. Understanding is not a higher stage than wisdom, but a poetic synonym used for emphasis. They're basically, synonymous. The root sakal is also widely used for ordinary intelligence and skill. It is often used for that wisdom which brings success, even prosperity. This wisdom was possessed by David in 1 Samuel 18:4, and David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. And the people saw that, and they knew that he was a wise man, and will characterize the Messiah. Jeremiah 23:5, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch, and a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice on the earth. Behold, my servant shall deal prudently, he shall be exalted and extolled to be very high. Let me see, Hokmah, and this word maskil is also used extensively to designate a type of psalm. Maskil, tushia, like sakal, has the double meaning of wisdom and success, which is the effect of wisdom. I'm looking at something here. Hold on a second. Hakma Funny, Sakal, Hokma, Binya, Mezima. Is that the one? No, that's Maski. But these are things that you see in the Proverbs. A proverb of a psalm of David, Maskil, and they use that word that means something else. Uh, the essential idea of Hakam represents the manner of thinking and attitude concerning life's experiences, including matters of general interest and basic moralities. These concerns relate to prudence in secular affairs, skills in the arts, moral sensitivity, and experience in the ways the subject wisdom was discussed throughout the ancient Near East. Mesopotamian wisdom, which originated with Sumerian, emphasized human character, his character and counsel regarding practical advice. The problems of death and suffering were discussed. Egyptian wisdom included the concept of ma'at, which is truth or intelligence and justice, according to which one order existed in the whole universe. J.A. Wilson characterized it as a created and inherited rightness which tradition built up into an orderly stability. Gods and men were subject to this conduct, this order of conduct, which was taught by the priests. Some have felt that much of the Old Testament royal wisdom, which great leaders imparted to their students, was borrowed from Egyptian wisdom. And then you got Ugaritic literature has also a form of maxims concerning the father-son relationship, possibly reflecting Canaanite wisdom. And you'll see that all through Proverbs where he's talking about, my son obtained to wisdom. And, the wisdom in the Old Testament, however, is quite distinct from other ancient worldviews, although the format of wisdom literature is similar to that of other cultures. Reflected in Old Testament wisdom is the teaching of a personal God who is holy and just and who expects those who know him to exhibit his character in the many practical affairs of life. So that's what we do. We study, we learn, and we're able to use this stuff in the practical existence. So this perfect blend of the revealed will of the Holy God with the practical human experiences of life is also distinct from the speculative wisdom of the Greeks. So we have this book that has the words in it, the words of wisdom, and we study that, and we're able to put it into our daily lives. The ethical dynamic of Greek philosophy lay in the intellect. If a person had perfect knowledge, he could live the good life. But we know that's false. Knowledge was virtue. The emphasis of Old Testament wisdom was that the human will in the realm of practical matters was to be subject to divine causes. Therefore, Hebrew wisdom was not theoretical and speculative. It was practical, based on revealed principles of right and wrong to be lived out in daily life. And that's basically what we're looking at. We're studying the Word, and we're seeking after wisdom. In the historical and prophetic books, the word Hokmah is sometimes used to refer to ordinary intelligence and skill, but even there, sometimes the divine and moral wisdom is in view. You got Exodus 35. And these are this craftsmen. He gave them skills and wisdom. Um, and then Daniel, of course, these kids had wisdom. All right, skillful in wisdom, cunning in knowledge, understanding science, and God gave that to them. It's not something that they got on their own. The wisdom literature, while sometimes using wisdom as prudence and cleverness, majors on ethical and spiritual conduct. Because God revealed himself to Israel, their sacred literature has the effect of a divine imperative. And that's an imperative is not a suggestion. It's a law. It's an imperative. Hakam refers to godly cleverness and skill, which results in practical action. And that I just keep repeating that. That's what makes sense. The one who hears will be industrious, will know how to talk, and his will be in captivity to God's. He will have life, and this wins divine approbation. So God's going to, when we seek after him and seek the knowledge that he's given to us, he's going to help us out. It's not saying that we're going to be rich, millionaires, or anything like that, but we're going to have wisdom and understanding. Proverbs 8:33, hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. Proverbs 23, hear thou, my son, and be wise, and guide thy heart in the way. What's the way? The Hodos. Proverbs 27:1. Boast not thyself to tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth. Wisdom. You read the Proverbs, and it tells you how to act. Hokmah is wisdom. The usages of Hokmah cover the whole gamut of human experience. Wisdom is seen in the skill of technical work in making garments for the high priests, craftsmanship and metalwork, as well as execution of battle tactics. Wisdom is required from government leaders and heads of state administration, including pagan leaders as well as Israel. The Messiah demonstrates wisdom and discernment in his function as leader of his people. Isaiah 11:2. The Spirit of the Lord shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and fear of the Lord. As you capping everything off, you can't go wrong with the fear of the Lord. Spirit of wisdom is chokmah, understanding is binyah, counsel, etzah, might, the spirit of knowledge. De'ath is knowledge. That also comes from yada. And the fear of the Lord, and that's yareh. It's reverence. Actually, it's reverence of the Lord. Wisdom is expressed in shrewdness. The woman of Tekoa averted the town's bloodshed in her clever plea for their safety. When Joab was going over there, he was going to destroy the whole town looking for this one guy. The wise woman came over the wall and says, "Who are you looking for?" He said, "Joe." I said, "Joe's here. I'll chop his head off and throw it over the wall." So what she do? She goes, chops the guy's head, throws it over the wall. Joab says, "Thanks, goodbye." She was a wise lady. But a shrewd person is not to boast of his gifts. That's nice. A shrewd person is not to boast. Speak, thus saith the Lord, even the carcasses of men shall fall as dung upon the open field, and the handful after the harvestmen, and none shall gather. So don't boast. The ostrich displays traits lacking shrewdness when she acts in her silly, selfish manner. She puts her eggs anywhere, she doesn't care about them. The gift of shrewdness can be used in an ungodly way to deny the omniscience of God. Gift of shrewdness used in an ungodly way. But thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Look at all our leaders today in government. They're all like that. A bunch of wise men and women. It's stupid. Prudence, an act of wisdom, is expressed by those who speak with wisdom and who use time carefully. The kind of wisdom in the practical affairs of life is derived from the revelation of God. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. Fear of the Lord is his treasure. I had a whole bunch of verses on the fear of the Lord. I forget what I did with them. I had dozens and dozens. Every aspect of the fear of the Lord. And like I said, there's dozens of verses that have to do with that. So you want some wisdom, the fear of the Lord. The source of all wisdom is a personal God who is holy, righteous, and just. His wisdom is expressed against the background of his omnipotence and his omniscience. But by wisdom, God numbered the clouds. He founded the earth, made the world. Wisdom being found in God is regarded as a divine attribute. Job 12:13. With him is wisdom and strength. He hath counsel and understanding. He also knows wisdom in his truest sense. The wisdom of God is not found in man's speculation. He alone must provide this wisdom for man's guidance so that man can live the best possible moral and ethical life. So we're not going to do this on our own. We need help. But the Lord giveth wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2:6, Job 11:6, and that he would show thee the secrets, that they are double to that which is. Know therefore that God exacteth of thee less and 9 iniquity deserves. You have to know. In proverbial fashion, the Bible personifies divine wisdom so that it seems to be a hypostasis of God. I looked that up one day. I forgot what it means again. Hypostasis, but stops just sort of giving it separate existence. 647. Let me look at my book here. Hold on a second. 647. I know I got hypostasis. Hypostasis is the substance or nature of. Okay, hypostasis means the substance or nature of God. Okay, so and that's like yeah, I guess you can put anthropomorphism in there. This wisdom was brought forth before all things. Proverbs 8:22 to 31. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way before his works of old. And this could be talking about Jesus also. Some people attribute this to Jesus. The Lord possessed me in the beginning, because in the beginning was the Word was with God, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, wherever the earth was. When there was no depths, I was brought forth, where there was no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the deep depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the water should not pass. You walk along the beach. That's it. That's the decree right there. Stop right there. When he appointed the foundations of the earth, then I was by him as one brought up with him, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of the earth, and my delights were the Son of Man. That's wisdom speaking. You know, she has built a house and prepared a banquet for those who will listen to her. She teaches in public places. By her instruction, her students receive a divine spirit. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. That's what Proverbs starts with that. This is what it says in Proverbs 1:1. He says, the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, the king of Israel. To know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity. This is it. That's Proverbs. And it's the fear of the Lord. To receive instruction, to give subtlety to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. A wise man will hear and will increase learning, and a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. To understand the proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. So that's what we want to understand. When we read the words, we want to understand what this is we're talking about. Dark sayings is the kida. That's the riddle. The dark saying, hard questions, difficult questions, something that we read that's not easily understood. And we get the wisdom and understanding. We fear the Lord and depart from evil, and the dark sayings won't be dark sayings for us anymore. And look at this: the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. I'm going to pull up that thing. I got it somewhere about the fear of the Lord. There's dozens and dozens of verses. The naive become wise, politicians become wise, and those who receive from her wealth are crowned with honor and riches. And we read that in Proverbs 8. This personification of wisdom is unique. While there were gods and goddesses in the ancient Near East who were thought to possess the gifts of wisdom, it is unlikely that any existed by the name of wisdom. The figure of wisdom in the Old Testament never came to be regarded as a deity independent of the Lord, although some such expressions occur in Proverbs 8, which we just read. These have often been taken as an adumbration of Christ. Adumbration means vaguely foreshadow, So these have been taken as a vaguely foreshadowing of Christ. Wisdom did it attain a degree of personification with features which were by no means abstract. Wisdom should not be regarded as God, but it does belong to God. It is one of his attributes. Wisdom has a personal existence in the living word of the New Testament, but wisdom is not the Logos herself. That wisdom is personified as a woman in Proverbs 1 and Proverbs 9. Is partly explained by the fact that the noun is feminine. There, the lady wisdom is contrasted with the woman folly, was personified, personified sin. Note that the studied contrast of Proverbs 9, 4 to 6, and Proverbs 9, 16 to 18. This personification of wisdom is not found outside these chapters. So we'll look at that. Proverbs 9, 4 to 6, and Proverbs 9, 16. Let me close this out here. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Come, eat of my bread, and drink of my wine, which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish and live, and go in the way of understanding. And then you got the evil aspect of the wisdom over here in Proverbs 9. He says, Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. And as for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Stolen waters are sweet, and bread eaten in secret is pleasant. So this is an evil thing here. He knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. So there's a contrast between good wisdom and evil wisdom. Wisdom for man is not only to make one humanly wise, but also to lead him to the fear of the Lord. For this is the beginning of all wisdom. Job 28:28. We can't say that often enough. And unto man he said, Behold, the fear of the Lord, that is wisdom, and to depart from evil is understanding. True wisdom for man involves knowing the Holy One. So men are to listen to the wisdom of God with attentive ears. In fact, inner happiness only comes when man attains to wisdom. Proverbs 3:13. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. So we know what that means already. We know wisdom is the fear of the Lord. We know that understanding is depart from evil. So happy is the man who fears the Lord, and happy is the man that departs from evil. Simple. Through a strenuous search, which is actually a search for God Himself. Proverbs 2, we read all that. Skeptics will never find this wisdom and will never know the full meaning of life. Proverbs 14 and 6. A scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. So a scorner is not someone who fears the Lord, so they're not going to find it. But knowledge is easy unto him that what? That departs from evil, that understandeth. So in the great poem of Job 28, wisdom in this special biblical sense is practically defined as trusting God and avoidance of sin. Trusting God, I mean fear of God. Hakam, wise, cunning, reflects the uses of Hokmah and describing the wise man. He is skillful in various kinds of technical work, artisans. We got that Bezalel and Aholiab, they were in wisdom to make the stuff. So the wise man constituted a third office using wisdom and harmony with the function of other two offices. Jeremiah 18 and 8. Thus, the wise man gave practical advice based on divine revelation, as well as its own experience and observation. So his own experience and observation was nothing without the divine revelation. So divine revelation had to come first. And Jeremiah 18:18 then said, They come and let us devise devices against Jeremiah. For the law shall not perish from the priest, nor the counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophet. Come, let us smite him with the tongue, and let us not give heed to any of his words. So these are idiots. And the bibliography, let's see if there's anything good in here. Wisdom in Israel, Tyndale Bulletin, Wisdom Movement Israel's Covenant, Social Background of Wisdom. So if you want to buy all these books, wisdom. Let me see. Having a biblical hypostasis of wisdom. Wisdom as a gift. So read all of this stuff. You'll get something out of it. Journal of Divination. And of course, you got TDNT7. This is probably the only book I have right here. TDNT7, age 476 to 514. And we can get into that, but most of the stuff that we just read will be in there too. But this will give you stuff in the New Testament. TDNT 7 actually have the page open to that, and that's let me get to TDNT 7. We're about out of time here anyway. Well, we started late. 4678, 4678. That's wisdom. 4680, 4680 is wise, and 4679. These are the three words that are covered in this TDNT 7. Sophia is wisdom. That's the feminine noun. Sophos is wise, skilled, and that's an adjective. And sophizo, it's the verb, to make wise or cunningly devised. So there's 62 pages here on this wisdom, and we're not going to go through that right now. But it's a good read if you have the TDNT, Theological Dictionary. You got a lot of stuff outlined and underlined here. Rules of conduct, practical wisdom, Old Testament terminology, which we just went through. That's TWOT. So TWOT 647 and TDNT 7. You'll find stuff on wisdom, rules of conduct. What else? I got underlined there. I got some other stuff underlined here in the New Testament. Traditional usage. So, like I said, I'm not going to go through all of this, but and then there's another one we'll look at maybe next week. We'll put up a page here, and this would be 4920. 4920. Tsunami. Okay. So that's understanding. So we're talking about wisdom and understanding. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. That's what we want. We want wisdom. We want fear of the Lord. We want understanding. We want to depart from evil. Please, God. Depart from evil. 907. And how do we depart from evil? Fearing the Lord. Understanding. 4907. 4908. 4908. I'll just put this up here. That's prudent. So you got tsunami, the verb. You got sunesis, the feminine noun. And you got sunetos is an adjective. And then you got one more here. Looks like one if I can read my writing here. Without understanding. Okay, ace sunetos. That's good. Okay. There's 5 verses for without understanding. A sunetos. All right. So you'll find out that the wisdom and understanding is going to be the same thing all the way through the Bible. It's fearing the Lord and departing from evil. So that's that. And let me see. There's another book out here that we might run into next week, and this would be this word is that the yada yada word. Yeah, that's Proverbs 1. Okay. Nah. This is Frone. Okay, Frone. I was looking for the Greek word. Frone. And let me just put it up here if I can find this here. Hold on a second. Frone, and then we'll have somebody pray for us. Phronesis 5424. Let me get another page because I want to have this up here. 5424. I can close this off. 5424. So these are the Greek. We'll get into the Greek stuff. 5424. It's redundant. What? Be not children in understanding. Friend. Okay. Understanding. And there's another word here. 878 and 877. 878. Fools. Okay. A fool is Aphron. Okay. And then the other one is 878. 870. Oh, 877. 877 is another negative here. Foolishness. Aphronose. Aphrosune. Aphrosune. That's foolish. Where's the hold on. Oh, here they are. Okay. I got to go back a couple of pages. There we go. Let me put the positive ones up here. 54, 5426. 5426. That's savorists. Phroneo means to think or to regard, to have understanding, to be wise. There's 21 verses there. That comes from the feminine noun, friend, which is understanding. All right, 54. So 5427. 5427 is phronema. Something to do with the mind, carnally minded, okay? But to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. That makes sense. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, for it is not subject to the law, neither indeed can be. And then he that searcheth the hearts knoweth what is in the mind of the Spirit, because he maketh intercession for the saints according to the will of God. And that's that. And then 5428. I'm just going to put these down real quick. 5428. And he shall go before the power of spirit on the heart of the bishop, into the wisdom, which is phronesis. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Wisdom, prudence. Okay, phronesis. And there's two verses there, so you might as well read them now. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias. And this is talking about John the Baptist, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Ephesians 1:8, wherein he hath abounded toward us in all wisdom and prudence. I wonder what that word wisdom is here. 4678. Sophia. Sophia and phronesis. So we'll be looking at that. And there's a couple more numbers here. 5429, 5430, 5429. Wise. Is this the verb? Oh, that's an adjective. What's the verb? 5430. 5430. Unwisely. One of these is the verb. Savorous, that's not it. Well, it is a verb, yeah. Phroneo. Okay. So, like I said, we'll get into all of that somewhere down the line. And there's a TWOT for that also. 239. Nah, that's the bin. Anyway, so we'll wrap this up. We had a pretty good thing going on tonight. I don't think, well, what's his name? Winston ever made it, huh? Okay. So who's still here? Mike, you still here?
For a little bit.
Yeah, all right. Can you say your prayer for us?
Yeah, Lord, we thank you for this word that you've given us, that we can be strengthened by it for the walk that you lead us into each day. You know, our earthly wisdom is nothing, and the only wisdom we need is from above. As you write it upon our hearts and cause us to walk into it, that any good we do in this world, that it would only be to your glory and the furtherance of the gospel. that's according to your will. We thank you for the many blessings you bring our way. Thank you for the forgiveness we have in Christ, and all we think, say, or do, that it may be according to your will as you guide us. We give you all the praise in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Yes, so we started a little late, and
Amen.
an hour and a half. That wasn't bad. Uh, about normal. Usually about an hour 40. But that's good. We thank you, God, for everything. Let me turn this off here. Stop recording. This way you can do what you want now. Thank you, God.